everyone, welcome back to Oak Creek Homestead. This is Renee and we are going on another garden tour. So it's been a few weeks since I have posted a garden tour, mainly because we've had some technical difficulties with our computer, but I think everything's straightened out and we are ready to shoot another tour. I think this is maybe week 17. You'll see as we go through the garden, this is the weird time of year where things are starting to not look great. The heat's been really good for the plants, but it's also been really stressful. And so some of the plants you'll notice are not looking great. We're hoping they hang on, give us a few more weeks of good fruits and veggies, but some things we are starting to pull out already. And we've also planted our fall garden this week. So, all right, let's take a look at the garden behind us. We'll take a quick look at the herb garden and we'll go from there. So let's head in. You can see these are all of our cucamelon plants. They're starting to really climb this trellis, which was the goal. Over here we have some other cucumbers. They are suffering from some mildew on their leaves. These cucumbers have tasted terrible. Whether we've picked them when they're small or big, been really bitter and not great. So I'm actually going to just pull all this out and add some amendments to this bed. And then we might plant a few more fall things in here. See how we do. Over here, cucamelons look awesome. Have some pineapple tomatillos growing. They look great. We haven't gotten any tomatillos off them yet. Swiss chard's been really huge. Tomatoes are looking good. So a lot of people have asked me how many tomatoes we've started to preserve, and the answer is 0. We've had tons of tomatoes. Not many of them have even made it into the house. The goal is going to be to harvest all these aromas that are in here off these plants that look okay and start freezing them so that then we can sauce them, use them for sauce come this fall. Tell in here. So all of these yellow leaves that you're seeing on these tomato plants are blight, and so that means these plants are sick. We're going to leave them in and hopefully get all this fruit to ripen. It's still setting a lot of fruit, so we're hopefully going to get all this fruit to ripen before the plants are finished, but we'll see. More aromas hidden in there. You see just spots of colors everywhere. These yellow pear tomatoes have been amazing. If you've never grown them, I would highly recommend them. The kids love them. We walk down here. We've got some beautiful Anaheim peppers. That we need to pick and freeze. Those are hot peppers. This is some of our pineapple tomatoes. We're starting to get some color on. A few Juliettes down there. Now Juliettes are our drying tomatoes. So they're small and we put them on the dehydrator and dry them. Again, lots of really pretty pineapple tomatoes here coming in strong. So that's great. We're going to pick a lot of these tonight and tomorrow for preserving. Our jalapeno plants are finally producing. See all the jalapenos hidden in there. Again, kohlrabi we need to eat. Rhubarb we need to pick. Strawberry plants are just going to be dormant now until next spring. More tomatoes. You see the tomato forest on here. Still getting a handful of tomatoes that have a lot of this blossom end rot. So we're just picking them and tossing them to the chickens. They're just not edible. But here we go. Here's some more of those pineapple tomatoes looking great. Well, here's some of our black tomatoes, black creme. Couple down there. So a lot of these tomatoes that we picked today, oh look, that one's kind of cool. Do you see that little horn grain up there? Oh, interesting. Let me get it in focus. Let's see here. So bizarre. Some more tomatoes. A lot of the tomatoes we pick tonight and tomorrow will actually be preserving because we're getting to the point where we can't keep up with all of these tomatoes, which is good. We're starting to get some good sized tomatillas in here, which is also good. Might make a batch of fresh salsa this week. Roast those up. I'll harvest those tomorrow. These are our slicer tomatoes down here, and they are in pretty good size. Can you see it right there? I'm gonna weigh some of these big ones and just see how big we got this year. So around these big sunflowers. So we've got some squashes in here. There's a zucchini hiding back there. We'll pick and eat this week. Green beans. These little squashes that are along this back are baby spaghetti squashes. So we'll pick those soon to eat them. Here we've got our pumpkins ripening. That look gorgeous. Oh, look what's right up there. Little squash bug. If you can see it. They are the bane of our existence out here. But we've got about half a dozen good sized pumpkins on here. So we will let these ripen, then we roast them and freeze it so that we can use it all winter for breads and soups. We add it into soups. Really yummy. Now I forgot to show you guys. Let me go back a bed really quick. This bed right here needs watered, but we planted a handful of things for fall. So we've got along the irrigation tube, we've got some sugar peas, and we've got radishes. We've got some beets, some greens we planted just to see. It might be still a little bit early, a little bit warm for greens. Over here, this whole bed we planted. Also, we've got purple beans, some more radishes, some root veggies like some kohlrabi. Little ground cherry plant. Looks pretty pathetic, but we've gotten a handful of ground cherries and they've been delicious. So things are coming along slowly but surely. There's a pumpkin back there, but you can tell the vine borers have gotten to that vine. It's not going to survive. Probably just pull it out and replant this area. These beans in here are Jacob's cattle bush beans, and these we're going to leave on to dry. We'll harvest the dry beans and use those in soups all winter. There's Swiss chard. Some carrots. Here's our red noodle beans. We have a couple little noodles on here. Here's one of our red noodle beans. Not sure when we pick it. I think probably soon. Here's another little noodle bean and even another one. So we're going to pick them and then you chop them up and use them in stir fries. I don't know if you guys can tell how big this sunflower is, but it's beautiful. Alright, so that is the main garden right now. I know a lot of this stuff you guys have seen for several weeks. I just want to show you kind of where it's been this last month. There are definitely a lot of things growing really well in the garden, including all these really tall sunflowers. There are some things that are struggling. Again, a lot of the tomato plants because of the heat are struggling, but we will harvest what we can, preserve what we can, and then we will get to canning all that later in the fall when things cool down a little bit. Here's the basil plant I've let go to seed. Alright, let's go check out the herb garden. Alright, so the herb garden is a mixture of weeds, overgrown flowers, and some weeded areas that my mom helped us out with this week. So the goal for this herb garden is to make sure this whole section right here, this little triangle area, is full of perennials. This middle section, what we're doing, we're moving any of the perennials that are in here, and we are, just harvesting things as they grow. And then this is going to be the space where we plant most of our fall and winter garden that we're going to put a hoop house over to try and keep things alive throughout the winter so we can be harvesting greens. Mostly that's what we'll grow. This kind of half over here has really gotten out of control. The kale, you can tell, is really getting eaten. All that's going to get pulled out. All these weeds are going to get pulled out, and we're going to use some mulch, kind of mulch the pathways, give it more of a guideline. We really just need to come in, like, this is one basil plant, guys. One basil plant. It's huge. I need to come in and take off all the flowers, and we need to harvest a lot of this basil. That's what we're going to be doing this week. Beautiful red zinnias though, huh? The little yellow flowers you see all over are calendula, and I've been harvesting those and drying them. I'll show you what we do with those probably later this fall when we cools down in the house. Got some tall sunflowers over there looking beautiful. Got some of our perennials back there. This section too is all going to be perennials, so some of the stuff like the basil is going to die back, and then we'll move some stuff over here. All the celery will eventually eat, and then it'll die back. All this basil in front will die back. So those stuff are all annuals. Once we pick all those, we'll be planting more perennials in this area, so that this kind of third over here, along with that tiny triangle on that first side, are all perennials. And then this center section will be all of our annuals. So pretty cool. We finally have a vision, kind of know what we're going to do with this more long term. So we're pretty excited about it, and got a lot of work to do, but we'll get there slowly but surely. That is all for the garden tour tonight. Thanks for hanging out with us. Check into the channel. Make sure to like this video, click the subscribe button below, and hang out here so that you can see what else is going on the homestead.